Okay, good morning. So today I'm full of gratitude because, first of all, I'm always grateful for all of you, and I appreciate everybody coming together for our mastermind. I had a great weekend. I know a lot of people had a crazy weekend. It was Father's Day for a lot of us that had either fathers or had people that were celebrating Father's Day. And I was just saying I was sort of full for the last 24 hours. So, but I'm grateful for Monday and for just living well and being happy. And my daughter came home from New York, and she's leaving today for Dallas. She's driving across country, and although I feel very nervous about the whole thing, I think I think it'll be a great experience for her. And so she reminds me, my kids were all with me yesterday. It was really nice. And she reminds me every day about just being grateful and having just affirmations. So we always do that. Okay, today I'm excited because, I've been reading this great book, and it's all about communication. And one of the things about communication is that we talk a lot about game planning. And in this group, we are always talking about different ways in business to really implement ideas that speak to us, right? So we bring ideas to this group, and whatever you take from it, whatever you can implement, is really the key point to the mastermind, right? So in business, you get a lot of ideas, you hear from a lot of different people, and then what you implement is really the strength of I think business in general. Implementation, intentionality, we talk a lot about that. So I saw this cartoon, I thought it was really funny, because one of the things when Robert and I got started in the mortgage business, we went to a seminar, and we've talked about it, where we spent a lot of money for this seminar, and we kind of masterminded with about 80 people from across the United States in the mortgage business. And they were all $1 million a year producers or more. We were not, but we thought, you are who you hang out with. So we wanted to be there. We wanted to be really masterminding with people that were doing it. And this was 25 years ago. And I'll tell you something, the number one thing that all of these guys and girls had in common was they databased. And we had never really heard of that. Like, what do you do? Well, how do you database? What's a system? Where do you get a database that works, and this and that, and so why do you database? And, here we are, 27 years, Robert and I, and his business, and my business, we started databasing that long ago. And in our database, we have, not only the regular information that you would have, but we also have birth dates, anniversary dates, kids' birthdays, different notes, along the way. And we've been able to send out cards all throughout the years for different events and make phone calls to people based on this database of information. So, big proponent of the database, which, by the way, we all have that. Whether you use it or not is up to you, but we all have a great system of databasing. Okay, so the number one thing on that is you might, if you haven't gone into the database, you might want to go into it and really look at the power of that database, because it is a very powerful machine. So the first thing in a database that we talk about all the time is really the memory jogger. And you go into your database, and you can actually, when you're doing a communication plan, you can actually put it into sections of your database. So I, think it's always good to do an inventory of your database on an ongoing basis. So you're finding out, who in your database is in there, and who are you connecting with on a regular basis, who are you not connecting with at all, and really jarring your memory of people that maybe you haven't seen in a long time, or maybe, maybe things are more relevant to see them in terms of, the things that you're focused on, health and wellness, things that you are doing that might speak to somebody that maybe skincare didn't speak to, or whatever it is that is prevalent in your business. So who do you know? And doing a basic inventory on that is one of probably the best things you can do for yourself. Sometimes you might have the time to do that once a quarter. Sometimes, some people do it once a month. It really is whatever that you want to do. But once you do your memory jogger and you really make your list of people and really look at your list on who you might want to connect with or who might want to connect with you, then what you're doing is you're building that list so that you can communicate with them. And that's what we're talking about today, our communication plan. How do we talk to our database? How do we get the most effective time with our database? And what are we broadcasting to our database? Okay, so that's the key. And so what I'm suggesting in the communication plan is an hour of power. So basically in your daily life of what you do, if you can set aside an hour a day, not a day, an hour here in a week, an hour whenever you can do it on a consistent basis. So you have to look at your calendar and decide, how many hour of powers do I want to do in the course of a week? If you have 1 hour a week, you always do your hour of power the same time every week. So if it's going to be Monday, I put on here an example, Monday 12:30 to 1:30. So that's going to be my hour of power. And that's going to be the hour that I am going to be communicating with my database, with my people that I have structured into my plan. And I'm going to show you that in a second. But I wanted to show you this so funny cartoon. It says, what fits your busy schedule? He goes, what fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day? That was a guy and a doctor. I thought that was so funny. But the truth is, we're all given the same number of hours in a day. And some people just use their time better. And so for us, in our entire business, we all have that in common. It's communication. We all have the same thing in common. We all need to communicate, and we need to communicate with people because we're in the people business, right? So when you're planning your day before your day begins, you're planning your week before your week begins, you're planning your month before your month begins, this concept of a game plan of communication is literally planning your year of communication before your year begins. So today, if you don't have a plan of communication, you can start today and really start working in your plan of communication. And it looks like this. So basically you have your ambassadors. That's a large network of people in your memory jogger of the list that you built. So you have, excuse me, you have your list, and you basically put down, the people on your list that fit into the category of your ambassador. Those are your A+ people. It's a large network of those people have a large network of people. They're very outgoing. They're a great referral source to you, and you've decided that you want to connect with them at least once a month. So in your calendar for the year, you're going to, in your hour of power, in one of those weeks, let's say that you have 1 hour of power a week, you're going to build in your ambassadors into one of those hours, right? Once a month. And then the next category is your champions. Your champions are really good for 1 or 2 referrals a year. It could be more, but you're basically trying to build your champions into ambassadors eventually, and you're going to build your champions into your hour of power. So if you're only talking to those people 4 times a year, you're going to be able to build those people into your 1 hour of power 4 times a year. So you'll pick the months that every quarter that you're going to talk to that person. And the idea, you guys, behind an hour of power is that the highest form of communication, for anybody is, face-to-face and being able to come together. So the idea when you're calling these people to set up when you call them, you're basically saying, I want to connect and I want to go have a cup of coffee or go have a glass of wine or invite you to an event. And I'm going to talk about events in a second. And then your potential champions are maybe good for 1 referral a year, could be more. You might want to call them 3 times a year to get together. You want to turn them into champions, okay? That's the whole idea. And then your categories of your friends and family, those are people that are around you all the time. They're not always the people that are going to refer you, interestingly enough, the business, but you're going to try to turn them into champions, okay, and ambassadors. That's what you really want to do. And when you're looking at your memory jogger and you're looking at people that, you don't really talk to, they're not anybody you've ever gotten a referral from, they're not anybody that's ever wanted to listen to you, I don't say definitely delete people out of your life, but in this particular system of, you know, how you're going to coordinate that into your plan, your communication plan, you really don't need to work people that have absolutely no desire to be in your life, work them into your plan. If you run into them and it sparks something great, then you can put them into your communication plan. But really and truthfully, you don't want to focus a whole bunch of time on people that are just not interested. So when you call people and you've put them into your communication plan, the idea is that you want to set up a meeting. You want to set up a way to connect. So that can be a meeting, a coffee, or an event. And I say event because events are literally it's the second thing that is going to really encourage your people to learn how to connect, okay? Because you're a connector, you want to teach people how to connect back with you. So you're gonna have one-on-one meetings, you're gonna invite people to things, and you're gonna make phone calls and handwritten notes. That's the highest form of communication that you could be doing with people and connecting with people. And it's funny, I have a story. So I have a couple stories, but the one that I'm going to share with you is I went to a networking breakfast last week at 7:30 in the morning. I ran into a lot of people I hadn't seen in a long time. It's actually called the Valley Industrial Association. And the whole idea is business owners from all over the valley come together and they connect, right? But this breakfast was a breakfast to bring in new members. And so we were invited by this one guy who's a financial planner, and Robert went there with Guaranteed Rate, which is his mortgage company, and I went there with Miriam. And everybody went around the room and kind of shared what they did and what their purpose was and what they were, what business they had. It was great to hear what everybody does. And as I was sitting there, I actually made a list of people that I thought would be great for this meeting. And so tomorrow there's actually a Valley Industrial meeting for lunch where they have a speaker come and the speaker talks about business or whatever their value is. And so it's a nice luncheon. And I made a list at that breakfast that I was at who might really benefit from this luncheon. And so I called a couple of my friends and said, I'm going to be attending this luncheon in town. I think this really, when I heard about it, I thought of you. I'd really love you to come to the luncheon. Are you available? And so I have a couple people now joining me at a luncheon that is an event to help people build their business. And has nothing to do necessarily with anything that I'm getting out of it. It just has to do with the fact that I want to connect with people and teach them how to, refer to me so I can refer back to them and things like that. So that was a clear message to me when I was reading this book that, in order for you to really have people connect back with you and want to give you business, the idea is that you have to do the same thing. So you see on this pyramid here that the one-on-one meetings are really paramount. Events, if you could manage to do event to event to event with your communication plan, in other words, when you're talking to people and you have an event scheduled, like this Thursday, we have an event at the Lexus dealership, and Robert and I are going to do a short presentation, and we're going to have a youth factor tasting, and we're going to look at beautiful Lexus cars. I have a list of people that I'm going to be calling on my communication plan to invite them to this event. It doesn't matter whether or not they're going to come or not, but the idea is that I'm doing the activity to invite to the event. And if they can't come to this event, then I will say things like this: I'm so sorry you can't attend. I know it's going to be a lot of fun, but we're going to have more of these events. Would it be okay if I called you again to see if you'd like to attend the next one? And you're either going to get a yes or a no. So it's not that hard. And that's how you continue the communication plan. because that person's going to say, well, great, I'd love to come sometime. I'm just not available tomorrow, or whatever the date is. And then you put them in your plan for the next month or the next week or whatever it is that you've got going on. So the events are very strong one-on-ones. Also, I'll tell you this story. Yesterday, I went to lunch at a restaurant that's been in town for 25 years. I was one of the first people to go to that restaurant when it opened. They just did a renovation. It's absolutely beautiful. The owner is a guy by the name of Jamie. He's a really great guy. And he, him and his wife have owned this company and I say company because at one time they opened up several of these restaurants, but now this one is the one and only restaurant. They did this very impressive, expansive renovation. And so they reopened yesterday. And so we went for lunch, and Jamie came over and told us all about his specials. He brought us a couple of, dishes to try so that we could talk about it. We went on Facebook and did a Facebook Live for him. We walked around the restaurant. We didn't have to do that. It's his business. It's not our business. But we were excited for him. And I said to him, he has a room that seats 8 people. And I said, I have sort of a group of people that I'd like to connect with on a monthly basis. And I've been trying to find a private room. Is there anything that I would have to do to get that boardroom that you have there? And he goes, no, it's 8 to 10 people, and you just call up and you reserve it. Now, I know that this is going to be a power place for me because the room is absolutely exquisite. The food is wonderful and consistent. And I know when I walk in, the owner is going to come up to me and go, oh my gosh, Annie, it's so great to see you. And that my influence goes up a big way when that happens and I'm bringing people into a restaurant. So, that's another way of connecting with your people, is perhaps maybe doing something fun, bringing people together that are your, kind of trusted allies and people that you want to connect with, and teach them how to help connect you to other people. So these are a couple of things to think about. Your database is your community of influence, and you really need to structure that in how you want to communicate with people. Networking is the mutually beneficial give and take of a win-win relationship. So every single person that you know that you're networking with in business, it's a win-win for both. It's not just you giving out, referrals to them. It's them understanding that it's actually a mutual thing. The golden rule of networking, and this is something that, really is the most paramount in any business, is people do business with people and refer them business if they know them and they like them and they trust them. So building those relationships is building communication. It's not, talking to them about you. It's asking them questions about them. It's building a strong relationship based on, learning about what speaks to them, what makes their heart sing, what are they interested in, what are their kids doing, where are they vacationing, finding out and having an interest in what other people do. Being an implementer is key. If you can implement one thing and master it and then go on to the next thing, that's what I recommend. I've been doing that for many years. I take one thing that I want to implement and I stick with it until I get it and I feel good with it, and then I can move on to the next one. This was an interesting one. Okay, so out of 100%, when you are communicating with people, 7% of your communication is your words, 38% of your communication is your tone, and 55% of your communication is your body language. So it makes sense that you need to be one-on-one, face-to-face with people, right? Because they have to see you and they have to connect with you. So we're in an age right now where everybody's texting and emailing and putting things on Facebook and wondering why no one's responding. Well, people don't respond to that. They respond, their biggest connection is by one-on-one connection, or in a group where you actually see somebody's body language and you sort of feel them and you understand who they are as a person. And be a connector. So to be a connector is building very good relationships and being able to connect people that can learn how to connect back with you. And so these are really just simple little things. What I would suggest, if this is something that speaks to you and you want to build your communication plan into your system, is basically, you know, get your calendar out. You can start today and go over, inventory your list of people, adding people, putting them in the categories that feel good to you. The most important, highest payoff people are the ones you want to connect with the most often, and you want to figure out ways to connect with them. Build your events into your communication plan where you can invite people, and invite them to things that are valuable, not always something that has to do with your business, but something that could help them in what they're doing, and really find out what people are doing so that you can, you know, give them that value, and really go deeper into the relationship. Because I think when you do that, not only is that good for you, that you will have deeper relationships and invested time with people and find out some things that you may not know, but you're going to really help people to help you do what you want to do. And if you help enough people do what they want to do, you're taken care of. That was Zig Ziglar, and you know that. So again, I'm having a mix and mingle networking party at Lexus of Valencia. We're going to highlight our new product. We're going to have fun, and we want to get as many people as we can just to come over for, you know, a half hour to 45 minutes and do a little networking. So that's what we're doing. And I would say to you that broadcasting that wherever you are, whatever events you're doing, whatever events you know about, you know, get it on your phone, the invitation. And then when you call the person, this is what I do. I call the person to tell them about my little networking mix and mingle that I'm having. I'm really excited for them to come. And at the end, I say, well, let me do this. Let me send you a flyer so you have it on your phone, so you know exactly where it is, what time it is, and I'll see you there, and I'll remind you on the day of. So it's pretty simple. At least you have that going. So I hope that was some good information for all of you, and I really appreciate you tuning in today. Does anyone have any questions or any comments that they'd like to add to the communication plan? Was that good information for you?
Yes, it was. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so very much.
It's really good.
So,
Yes.
okay. So no questions, anything to add, anybody?
Annie, I think that's so great. And the point you made about, you know, one-on-ones and connecting and sitting face-to-face and belly-to-belly, that to me is how this business has always been the most effective to build. And so, yep, I totally see. I love the sit-downs. I love the one-on-ones and getting to know somebody deeper. This Thursday at Lexus, then, we're not doing a market overview per se. It's really more of a networking.
Well, we're going to do the market overview, but we're going to be focused in on more of the youth factor, I think. So,
great, perfect. Sounds like fun.
The thing about the communication plan, you guys, also is that you're planning to communicate. And I think that if you decide you want to take an hour a week to really communicate with a few people over an hour and really talk about, you know, going deeper with your relationship and meeting up and scheduling some time together, I think you're going to see that if you plan to do that, that's actually going to happen. Whereas sometimes we think, oh, you know, I'll run into this person, or yeah, I was meaning to call this person, or gosh, I haven't had time all day to make my phone calls. If you plan it into your schedule where you have an hour and that's all you're doing is making phone calls to your key people, you're going to find out that you're going to set your whole life in motion for events, meeting for coffee, getting together, and setting yourself up to really start connecting with the key people in your life that want to refer back and forth with you. So that's the whole idea behind it. Okay. Anybody else have anything to add? Or? All right, you guys. Well, I so appreciate it. We're going to talk a little bit more about this week, about connecting. And if you do have any ideas that you want to bring to the table this week, please do. And I so appreciate your time. I go out and have a great day, because we're going to talk about this week also, you know, getting our new starts and how this really solid communication is going to help you do that. So I really appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you, Annie.
Have a great day.
Thanks.